is the Housing Committee of Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. I am Gilbert Cedillo, Chair, and I welcome Nithya Raman, our Vice Chair, Marquise Harris-Dawson, Councilmember Corian, and are we still awaiting Mr. Lee?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we're going to go forward. I'd like to call this to order. Madam Clerk, would you like to run us through a quick roll call?
Yes, Councilmember Cedillo.
Present.
Councilmember Rahman.
Present.
Councilmember Harris-Dawson.
Here.
Councilmember Krikorian.
Here.
And Councilmember Lee is not present at the time. You have 4 members and a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have several items for public comment. Do we have people waiting in our gallery?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Then let's hear from the public.
Would you like me to read the public comment instructions, Mr. Chair?
I appreciate that. Thank you, Kiona.
Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-871-1866 and then press the number sign. Press the number sign again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press star 9 to request to speak.
Sorry, I had a quick question, which is that I don't know when in the meeting I was supposed to say that I wanted to offer an amendment to one of the agenda items, but sorry.
Well, I think when we get to that item.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that I was doing it at the right time. Thank you.
It's on program.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 9205. Could you please press R6 to unmute, state your name, the items you want to speak on. Go ahead. Caller, go ahead. Caller, speak. You should state your name and the items you would like to speak on. Caller with the last digits 920. You're unmuted right now. Caller with the last 4 digits 9205. Go ahead and speak. Hello? Go ahead, caller. State your name. Press star 6. You're already unmuted. State your name and the items you wanted to speak on. Caller with the last 4 digits 9205.
Mr. Lohman, I think we have some difficulties. Maybe we should go to the next call.
Okay. Caller with the last 4 digits 4790. Could you please press star 6, state your name and the items you would like to speak on?
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good afternoon. My name is Shinsia Zanetti, and I want to make a comment about affordable housing. May I proceed?
So that would be public comment. You have 1 minute for public comment.
Okay, I will get started. I live in an RSO building purchased by a developer that is keeping tons to take over RSO affordable units. They want my apartment up into $2,000 a month co-living bedrooms, yielding a total of $10,000 a month. I've lived here. I'm 61 years old, and I'm infuriated by this farce. I will not go quietly. Developers have used shortage excuse luxury housing, which will not solve the housing problem. We do not have a housing shortage. We have an affordability shortage. There are over 100,000 empty rental units in Los Angeles. Please stop the charade and protect the people that are already in RSO housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Caller with the last four digits 7384, please press star 6 to mute, state your name and the items you would like to speak on.
Hi, this is Beverly Kenworthy. I'd like to speak on items 4, 6, and 7.
And did you want public comment as well?
No.
Oh, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Beverly Kenworthy. I'm with the California Apartment Association, Los Angeles. Calling in today just to give our general support for items 4, 6, and 7. We absolutely need a new revenue stream for rental subsidy and any motion that incentivizes and creates more housing, more affordable housing, we are certainly willing to support. We think these are great ideas, and we look forward to seeing the report backs on these items and how we can be of assistance. We will be certainly willing to work with the committee on. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Caller with the last four digits 8495. Could you please press star 6 to unmute and state your name, the items you would like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Frances Huynh. I would like to speak on all of the items and public comment.
You have 4 minutes.
Okay, so my name is Frances Huynh. For my entire life, I've been a Chinatown community member. I grew up visiting Chinatown, currently volunteer and work there with low-income seniors, families, and small businesses. Today, I'm here to support the motion for the Housing Committee to allocate funding to purchase Hillside Via apartments there in Chinatown. The city absolutely needs to use eminent domain to keep this building permanently affordable and in community hands. If not, the city will be responsible for the mass displacement of 124 working-class families who will be forced into homelessness. Hillside Via tenants have been impacted disproportionately by COVID-19. Almost all have lost their jobs and they are deeper in poverty. Every day they've lived in fear of whether or not they will have a roof over their heads. Every day they've had to live through harassment by the landlord and the property manager, and they've had to stress whether or not they can afford to buy food and then access health care, but they have to pay rent, and that's not okay. We are almost a year into the pandemic, and the city needs to take action to keep people housed. Cancel rent, strengthen tenant protections, and acquire Hillside Via. The city can easily afford $45 million for 124 units. Look how much money the city already spends for LAPD and for rich corporate developers that are gentrifying and displacing our working class communities. Hillside Via needs to stay permanently affordable. Please spend the money that you have to keep folks in their homes throughout this pandemic and also following the pandemic. Keep Hillside Via tenants in their homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller with the last four digits of 3645, please press star 6, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on. Caller with the last four digits 3645, could you please press star 6 and state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, this is Joe Donlin with Strategic Actions for a Just Economy, calling regarding item number 4 and general public comment.
Okay. Okay, you have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Council President Martinez for the motion under item number 4 to explore strategies to protect low-cost housing from speculators and to stabilize tenants and communities. This is the kind of motion that the Healthy LA Coalition and others have been calling for, as it has become clear that many tenants at risk of displacement have faced the most severe economic impacts due to COVID. and are facing loss of income at this time. Empowering the Housing Authority with an expanded acquisition program. The city has the opportunity to expand community ownership options through partnerships with community land trusts and build upon existing public housing and or creating an expanded social housing infrastructure. Social housing can be, of course, housing that's owned publicly and most importantly held in the public's hands in perpetuity for the sake of stabilizing affordable rents and advancing housing security goals. Our tremendous housing crises in LA demand broad coordination of resources across the city, county, and respective agencies. And to the extent that this motion represents an opportunity to expand partnership across HACLA, HCID, and county agencies, we see this as a critical step in the right direction. We did also want to note that in our understanding, HACLA's acquisition program combines both affordable units and market rate units. And so we believe the intention of this motion is to deepen the city's commitment to making housing more stable and accessible to those who need it the most. We recommend that focus is maintained in terms of the affordable side. We also recommend that the expansion of HACLA's acquisition program not unintentionally come at the expense of HACLA's other critical public housing and housing voucher programs.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 4 digits, 7551. Could you please press *6, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. My name is Jacob. I would like to speak on items 3 and 4 and general public comment.
Okay, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, thanks. I'll start with item 4. I mean, obviously, the city needs to find new funding sources for public housing. That's a no-brainer. We haven't built any conventional public housing since 1955. All you people have done is privatize public housing and displace tenants. And even when replacement units are built, it's not actually for some of the poorest people in the city. It's this privatized, quote-unquote, affordable housing that goes to people who, make $50,000 a year, which they definitely deserve affordable housing, but folks who are making $20,000 a year aren't benefiting from that. So yes, you need to create more public housing. You need to put money towards it, though. Without public money, this is going to be useless. I really hope you tax the rich and defund LAPD in order to build public housing. Moving on to number 3, I think this is perfectly related to number 4 because we're talking about expropriating hillside villa apartments with eminent domain. I am strongly in support of this. What better way to start with getting more public housing than taking hillside villa and operating it as social housing, public housing, do a public-private partnership with a trusted nonprofit if that's what you need to do. But the point is that we are allowing families to become homeless through huge rent increases. Folks at Hillside Villa are getting rent increases of 100, 150%, 200%. There are older Hispanic ladies who are getting rent increases. Their rent is going from $850 to $2,400 under Tom Boss. I just want to read a number from the last homeless count because even if new units are being built from the ground up, people are falling into homelessness. According to LAHSA, an estimated 82,955 people fell into homelessness during 2019. And a lot of those people self-resolved out of homelessness, but about 30-something thousand of them stayed homeless. So people are being newly forced into homelessness, and that is exactly what's going to happen at Hillside Villa if you don't expropriate this building. The city has money all the time when it's for rich people. It has money all the time when it's for corporate developers. The Grand in downtown LA is getting $198 million in tax cuts or tax breaks. Sorry, for some extremely fancy hotel project that's definitely just going to serve rich people and rich tourists and maybe provide some jobs. The city needs to find $45 million for Hillside Villa. The money is there. If this were another Staples Center, if this were something that Rick Caruso or any of these other developer ghouls were asking for, the money would be there no problem.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last four digits, 4100. Could you please press star 6, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hello, this is Becky Dennison from Venice Community Housing, and I'm calling in support of item 4.
You have 1 minute.
Great. Venice Community Housing has been engaged in housing preservation work like this acquisition rehab since our inception in 1988, and we're in strong support of this motion for the Housing Authority to take on this role. Housing preservation has been really limited in Los Angeles and contributes strongly to our housing crisis and pushing people into homelessness. And so we really need to add a preservation strategy into our production strategy for extremely low-income people and unhoused people, as well as tenant protections. We have been working on Healthy LA's Acquisition Rehab Committee, and we are working in strong partnership with the Community Land Trust Coalition to make sure that housing preservation is done as a social housing model owned by the government and then potentially operated in partnership with folks who have deep connections and commitment to community and community empowerment and community control of land. And we look forward to being a partner in this project as well. I do want to say that.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last four numbers, 8408. Could you please press star 6, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Yeah, hi, my name is Peter Clune. I'd like to speak on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and general public comment.
You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. For 7, it's very clear. This is a great idea. It's something that you guys need to do and should do more of. For 5, yes, but I encourage you to go even further. Expand this to a full citywide rental registry. I know Councilwoman Rahman put that forward in her campaign. And it's sorely needed. I will provide deeply important information that would allow you all to craft better policy for the city and help move our entire civic conversation around housing issues forward, giving us real information to actually work on with that. For number 4, yes, please do this. And I encourage you to even go beyond sort of the scope of what you've proposed, looking into more options for social housing, limited equity co-ops, supporting nonprofit housing providers. I'm really looking at a broad range of solutions that provide housing as housing and not as an investment vehicle. For number 3, I want to echo the sort of wonderful, insightful commenters calling earlier in support of this item. Do it, get it done, find the money, and continue to do this. Go further. Use eminent domain more often to do exactly this. Take properties out of the market, turn them into what they need to be, which is homes. And not investments, creating permanently affordable housing that is so sorely needed in our city. And then for number 6, I want to say, this seems like an idea that at first blush seems okay, taking money from developers and subsidizing renters. But, I think the more you look at it, you realize it's really a transfer from developers to landlords, right? And in return, developers get to build more. You're really sort of shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic here and failing to address the foundational problem that creates the need for this sort of rental assistance in the first place, right? If the problem is rent is too high, find ways to address that directly. Rent control, vacancy control, public and social housing. The problem is the city needs more revenue. Let's look at ways to do that that don't involve providing additional benefits to developers in our city. Look to Culver City and the recent progressive parcel transfer tax. Bring in money in ways that doesn't sell out for these additional incentives. If you look at sort of Hillside Villas, sort of this policy in 6 and 3 sort of intersect in an interesting way, which is that, every time you sort of try to put these indirect fixes into place, they fail, right? Now you have to clean up the problems created by the terrible policy of these limited term affordable housing covenants that we're seeing expire across the city. Instead of thinking of ways to subsidize exorbitant rents within our city, I think the time and energy of this committee would be much better spent thinking of ways that will directly address the need and bring down the cost of renting, make housing in Los Angeles so that no person.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 4 digits, 9917. Could you please press star 6 to unmute yourself and state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, CL, they, them pronouns, all available items and in general public comments.
You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I fully support the motion for Hillside Villa. I believe that is important not only for the city to move forward with motions like these, but also to take the steps necessary to decommodify the housing market in Los Angeles. I would remind you that we are on living this wave, and it is decommodified. In regard to creating a renter registry, I think we need a citywide renter registry that landlords cannot opt out of. It is ridiculous to hear landlords complain about even the suggestion of one. So I would urge this committee again to be more bold in its actions than the items on the agenda. With regard to Mary Martinez and Mitchell Farrell's motion about creating a permanent ARIS program, the ARIS program had a lot of flaws and is not a model for the city to build upon. It is a model for the city to learn its mistakes and to build something forward instead of just perpetuating a model that didn't help renters in the way they needed to be helped. I know the city amended my direct lease to renters if the landlord didn't accept, but with landlords not accepting, that created a big issue of uncertainty that they exploited and continue to exploit when renters tried to utilize these programs. General public comment, I would just like to encourage the committee to, like I said earlier, just focus on the decommodification of the housing market and also to focus in the interim on the actual specifications that are income levels for workforce housing, affordable housing, low-income housing, and very low-income housing. They still extend to income levels that are realities of Los Angeles working classes wage situation and saving situation. It still favors people who are working high wage jobs, who have less kids, who have more liquidity in that sense. And when we decommodify the housing market, it's important for us to make sure that low-income people are first in line and not jumping through hoops to get housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller with the last 4 digits, 3308. Could you please press *6, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, my name is Erin Naderi on agenda item number 3 in general public comment, please.
You have 2 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We represent the owner of 636 North Hill Street and oppose agenda item number 3 on their behalf. We've also submitted a letter to the committee. We have been monitoring this motion, and we've also made a number of Public Records Act requests to the city, including to this housing committee. It is unclear what the housing committee is considering today and what action is proposed. We've not been provided with documents, emails, texts, or reports concerning this motion. To the extent that there are reports that the housing committee is considering, those have been concealed and withheld from the ownership and the target of this motion. If there are no reports or documents, then any action taken by this housing committee is without support. The city has not been transparent in its actions relating to this forced taking of Hillside Villa apartment property. The city in the motion before this committee has made incorrect assumptions to predicate the forced taking campaign. There's no support for the forced taking of Hillside Villa apartments. The forced taking is not needed and is not necessary. The city's actions have violated federal, state, and local law, including the city's requirements and procedures and the eminent domain law. The ownership of Hillside Villa apartments opposes the taking of its property. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller with the last 4 digits, 9236. Could you please press *6 to unmute yourself and state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, my name is Allison Riley. I'm with Venice Community Housing. I'd like to speak on motions 3, 4, 6 and public comment.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. So I first want to say there is definitely public support for motion number 3 and to support the Hillside Villas and funding for the acquisition of that property. It is critical that we preserve affordable housing, and if the private landlord cannot do that, then that is something the city needs to do. I want to particularly thank Council President Martinez for advancing motion number 4 to explore additional strategies to protect low-cost housing from speculators and to stabilize tenants and communities. As mentioned before, Venice Community Housing is working in coalition with the Los Angeles Community Land Trust Coalition, and and this acquisition rehab working group, and have been advocating since the pandemic to set aside funding for a program just like this. We have a pilot program with the county and are in the process of acquiring some small multifamily properties, and it is also clear that tenants are at risk of displacement and are facing severe economic impacts due to COVID. And so an additional part of funding naturally occurring affordable housing is to find resources for additional rental subsidies in order to keep folks in their homes, and also for the ability to maintain the properties in the long term. To the extent, creating a subsidy is part of developing additional incentives in motion number 6. We want to make sure that that is an additional requirement imposed on developers for getting incentives, and not not an alternative incentive. We need production. Ending the housing affordability and homelessness crisis in Los Angeles is going to require significant investment in multiple solutions, in addition to production.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 4 digits, 9205. Could you please press *6 to unmute yourself? State your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Joe. I'm speaking in support of item number 3 and general public comment. Yeah.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
All right. Hi. My name is Joe. I'm a friend of Chinatown and personally know a lot of folks in Hillside Villa. So I just want to say right now, especially during this pandemic, it's a life or death urgent need that the city find the money and use this money to buy this building so that these tenants can stay in their home. So there are 124 working class families there, and they've been harassed and threatened with eviction for 2+ years. And these families there, right now, they are being forced out to work in unsafe conditions and come back during a pandemic just to keep a roof over their head because they've been threatened with sometimes 100-200% rent increase. And we've already lost a tenant to this pandemic, and many more are getting sick. This is literally a life and death issue, and the city has the money for it. The city has the money for it because the $46 million needed to purchase Hillside Villa is less than what the city spends on LAPD in a single week. And the city right now, we know the city is using eminent domain in Inglewood to displace families and community services in order to build a fully private basketball stadium development. So how is that public good? The city needs to stop using eminent domain to displace people and start using this money to keep people in their homes. Purchasing Hillside Villa is a no-brainer, and we need you to act quickly and do it right now. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Caller with the last 4 digits, 3869. Could you please press *6 to unmute yourself? State your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, this is Chase Englehart calling on behalf of Climate Resolve, and I'd like to speak on item 4.
You have 1 minute, sir.
Great. First, I wanted to thank Councilmember Martinez for introducing this motion, and I wanted to echo our agreement with SAGE and VCH on this matter. We think that preservation is incredibly important. Homelessness is where folks are experiencing the most acute effects of climate change. They're the most vulnerable to the effects it has on air quality, the effects of extreme heat, and lack of accessibility to water. And for folks that are displaced into other housing farther away, they're going to have to travel farther distances increasing emissions, and they will also be exposed to greater climate risks as the more affordable regions in Los Angeles and beyond are often likely to get hotter, experience more extreme precipitation and other climate risks. So we are in support of this motion.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 4 digits of 7238. Could you please press star 6 to unmute, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is King Chung. I'm tenant activist in Chinatown. And I speak on item number 3 as well as general comment.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I support the using of the eminent domain to purchase a hillside villa apartment building. And the reason is that historically, eminent domain was used to evict residents to protect the interests of big corporations. I remember Travis Ravine, where thousands of people were evicted to build the Dodger Stadium. So this motion right now is historical, that we're using eminent domain to support the little guys, which I highly commend the City Council, CDO, and Buscano for doing that. And the landlord boss is a pretty, I guess, greedy landlord. There was an agreement made between him and Councilmember Cedillo. It was a very good deal, but he backed out of the deal. Really sad thing, although he agreed to it. So without eminent domain, and boss is going to raise the rent 3-4 times to the residents there. And I think that will surely make people can't afford to pay those high rent and become homeless. And I think we don't want more homeless people on the streets. So I strongly support motion to find some money, $45 million, to initiate the acquisition of the hillside villa apartments. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller with the last 4 digits, 9116. Could you please press star 6 to unmute, name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, my name is Kenneth Chan. I would like to speak on items number 3 and public comment.
You have 2 minutes.
Thanks. Yeah, my name is Kenneth. I've worked in Chinatown. I currently live in Chinatown. I'm also a mutual aid volunteer in Chinatown. I'm calling in support of item 3. Really, it is a matter, I would like to emphasize, as the previous commenter did, it really is a matter of life and death. This community was already rent burdened before the pandemic, and now with COVID-19, folks have been hit even harder with illness, employment. Folks have, passed away, and yet they still continue to face rent increases. So this is really we really need this to move forward. We really need more public housing. Tom Watts the landlord of Hillside Villa had an opportunity to come to a solution, but really it seems like, for me, using eminent domain in this way is the best way to keep folks in their homes and keep folks, be able to not have to worry about saving up to pay their rent. So I also would like to see the city continue to expand these efforts, because we have more and more of these affordable housing covenants that will really used as ways for the rich to make investments. So we have other housing covenants that are going to expire. So I would definitely like the city to move even further when it comes to taking up public housing. But yes, calling in support. I've been a mutual aid volunteer at Hillside Villa. We've done meal deliveries there. Folks there, really should not be facing 200% rent increases. So I'd just like to remind that there is big public support. And remember, there are over 100 families that live in that building. So thank you, and I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Caller with the last 4 digits, 8408. Could you please press star 6 to unmute, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on? Caller with the last, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'd like to speak on general public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. First, I'd like to echo all the support for Hillside Villas, and also just impress on this committee that you guys have a real big opportunity, to push for change in the city for housing policy that can, do a lot to help our unhoused neighbors, push back against wealth and income inequality, stop displacement gentrification, sort of shatter a lot of the racist systems that we're burdened with in our city today, and fundamentally make sure that everyone in LA has a safe place to live. I really look forward to seeing 4 of you take that opportunity and really run with it. To the 5th member of the committee, John Lee, you shouldn't be here. We all know the reasons, but I think it needs to be mentioned every time he steps out into public as part of the city council, because it's honestly an embarrassment, and then undermines all of your capacity to do important work to have that man be anywhere near the work of this city, undermines the integrity of this committee and the entire city council. So I hope that as you go forward doing your work, you find it.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 4 digits, 6475. Could you please press *6 to unmute, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, my name is Matthew Manji, and I'm calling with Inner City Law Center. I'm calling for item number 4 and for public comment.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
Hi, I want to, first of all, express my sort of thanks to Councilmember Martinez and Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas and members of this committee for bringing this item forward. This is an essential item that will really help the city of Los Angeles address its affordable housing crisis. We need the city to expand on models of public housing and social housing and really bring forth a greater level of affordability and ensure that housing is available for all Angelenos in perpetuity. So we really want the city to expand this model to acquire properties and to make them affordable forever, to really stabilize communities, prevent displacement, stop the commodification of housing, and really turn the tide on our homelessness crisis, on our housing crisis, and work together to end our current situation. We also know with the current COVID crisis, homelessness is causing debt. Housing instability is causing people.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 4 digits, 5123. Could you please press *6 to unmute? State your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Jenny. I'm a tenant of Hillside Villa apartment, and I want to make sure that
what items did you want to speak on?
Number 3.
Number 3. You have 1 minute.
Okay, I'm a tenant of Hillside Villa apartment, and please keep my apartment building affordable, because right now, my roommate have got laid off. My hours were cut, and I'm shouldering all the expenses right now, even rent, because my roommate needs medical care. So I asked my roommate to spend your money on your medical care, and then he takes care of some utilities. It's very, very hard because I'm shouldering most of the costs. I yield my time. So please help us.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 4 digits, 4790. Could you please press *6 to unmute, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on? Caller with the last 4 digits, 4790. Please press *6 to unmute, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi there. I already spoke. I think by mistake I'm in the queue again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 0440. Please press *6 to unmute yourself, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on. Caller with the last 4 digits, 0440. Please press *6 to unmute, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on. Okay, we're moving on. Caller with the last 4 digits, 1438. Please press *6 to unmute, state your name and the items you'd like to speak on. Okay. I believe we have, that's it, Mr. Chair. That's all the comment we have.
Madam Clerk, does that conclude our public comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Are we prepared for item number 1? You want to make that announcement?
Item number 1 is a mayor's report relative to the appointment of Mr. Nason Buchanan to the Affordable Housing Commission. Mr. Buchanan is actually present in this meeting.
Great. Do we see him someplace on our screen? Or is he a call-in?
He should be available.
Mr. Buchanan, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
We're good. You want to share some insights with us about your greatest hopes and expectations for this committee? And then we'll maybe give you a couple of questions before you step into the fire.
No problem. No problem. I just, I want to say that I'm thankful to be in this space to be able to share a little bit about me and I guess some of the work that you all have been doing. So just overall, my name is Nason Buchanan. I've been a proud Angelino for the past 15 years, currently residing in CD 11. Just over the years, I had the opportunity working with community-based organizations, along with, gang reduction youth development efforts, and on Prop 47, while currently being a service at Brotherhood Crusade. And, I've been afforded the opportunity to stand and walk alongside with our communities. And during those times, I heard unfortunate struggles from everyday hardworking people, community members, just to keep a roof over their heads while having the basic necessities just to survive. So, if afforded the opportunity, I hope to be a part of ongoing solutions, because my passion and purpose to be of service to others, that's what drives me every day.
Thank you. Questions, comments, Mr. Krikorian? Nope. Mr. Marquise Harris Dawson, I'll come back to you, Mr. Krikorian. Ms. Rahman? Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, I didn't have my hand up. I was just coughing. But as long as you called me, I don't really have a question for Mr. Buchanan, but I do want to, on all of our behalf, thank him for his willingness to serve the city in what is one of the most vital roles and vital objectives we have right now. So, Mr. Buchanan, thank you for your service to the people of Los Angeles to date and in this new capacity as well.
Let me echo that, Mr. Buchanan. Let me, in particular, thank you for your service with the Brotherhood Crusade. It's an organization very near and dear to me, to my heart, and so I thank you for embracing the servant leadership model that emanates from that organization. Is there a motion to approve the appointment?
I want to move that we accept the appointment and just associate myself with comments of my colleagues. And in addition to that, Mr. Buchanan, give you a compliment on your COVID beard.
Yeah, thank you.
Those who can do.
Second.
Second, there's a motion. Madam Clerk, do we need a roll call, or it sounds like a consent item?
Sorry. Yes, Mr. Chair, we need a roll call for this item. Call in the roll to approve item number 1. Councilmember Cedillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Rahman.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Councilmember Krikorian.
Aye.
And Councilmember Lee is absent. 4 ayes. This item is approved.
Congratulations. Thank you very much, Mr. Buchanan.
Yeah,
This will
thank
be
you.
at the council shortly,
February 9th, I believe.
February 9th. It's your big day. Invite your family and your loved ones to join for this very important occasion. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a next item.
Item number 2 is a city attorney report and ordinance relative to amending subsections A, C, and H of section 5.450 of the LA Administrative Code to change the name of the City of LA Domestic Violence Task Force to the City of LA Domestic Violence Alliance.
That's great. Can we just move with this being a consent item, given that it seems that...
Move the item.
Thank you.
Calling the roll to approve item number 2. Councilmember Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
Rahman.
Yep.
Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Krikorian.
Aye.
And for the record, Councilmember Lee is absent. 4 ayes. This item is approved. You want to take up item number 3, Mr. Chair? Just go in order.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Item number 3 is a motion by Cedillo and Buscaino relative to finding $45,695,000 subject to availability to initiate the acquisition of the Hillside Villa Apartments located at 636 North Hill Place in Los Angeles, zip code 90012, to be used for affordable public housing.
Second. So a comment. Let me. It's a motion. It's my motion. Mr. Busquino, Hillside Villas in my district. I want to thank all the tenants and the supporters, mutual aid workers who have stepped up to speak to the committee today, and look forward to their comments at the full council. This is an extraordinary measure. It states very clearly, subject to use set availability or eligibility, but in both instances, it's relevant because this is to pull the resources of the city to scour and search from here to Washington for funding so that we can be one of the first projects that exercises eminent domain to protect affordable housing. It's true, 30 years ago, about 1,000 developers took advantage of an opportunity to work with the city and build units throughout the city. There are now 10,000 units in this circumstance. This is one of the first, and we are at a moment unable to see 30 years ago that we would be at a moment in a pandemic, in a housing crisis, in an affordability crisis, in a divide between wealth and poverty, et cetera. And so this is a strategy that we believe is necessary to maintain 10,000 units of affordable housing in the city. I want to be clear or note that I understand we are also in a budget deficit, and that we're going to have to be creative, and that we're going to have to probably look beyond our budget. We have a report back that I just got about 2 hours ago about our legislative agenda for Sacramento, and I will be sending that to the entire committee today so that we can see what resources are available both in Sacramento, in Washington, in the philanthropic community, so that we could find the resources so that we can make this a model of eminent domain, and one that's very positive and constructive, one that may end up in self-management, self-leadership, or as someone suggested, an appropriate public-private partnership with an appropriate mission-based nonprofit. So this is very exciting and challenging. Let me, for the record, note that, as others had noted, we did all that we could to reach an agreement, and we did reach an agreement with the owner. He reneged on that, and that's unfortunate because I think it's a great agreement that he should recognize that he'd be better off just embracing it. That's his choice. People make their choices. We didn't step into this with a flippant attitude, but with the serious that it requires. The last thing I want to say is that I appreciate the comments from many of the activists, but there is a need for us to understand how local government works, how budgets work. And I want to note that Inglewood is its own city. So the city of Los Angeles is not exercising eminent domain so that the Clippers can have their own stadium in Inglewood. Inglewood is its own city, and it's exercising and utilizing its own policies and resources for that purpose. We are exercising our duties, rights, and responsibilities in this area on the question of eminent domain for the interest of these low-income tenants. And that is what we are doing here. We are not the city of Inglewood. It's important for people to know those distinctions. And with that, that's all I have to say. Mr. Harris Dawson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I can't be silent on this. Given my political upbringing and training, I want to acknowledge the huge step you've taken, or you're leading the city in taking. You know, for almost 3 generations now, the public sector has ceded ground to the private sector, and we've said, you know, let the free market do its magic. And in the case of housing, there are lots of places where the free market works great, and all the people's needs are met, and in fact, sometimes exceeded in a way that everybody can access them. But in the case of housing, that has not been the situation for some time now. And so for us to sort of turn the ship around and begin to look at taking some of that space back, you are correct that the LA does not have any jurisdiction over Inglewood's basketball stadium, but we have a basketball stadium of our own, by the way. And we did as a city. None of us were a part of that decision, but we did as a city, in fact, take away some housing to provide space for a private interest for their own profit to build a basketball stadium. And so, again, that's history. But I want to recognize how revolutionary the step that you are asking the city to take at this moment is, and how appropriate it is, and how I just want to acknowledge that bold step and indicate to you and to the public that I'm a fervent supporter of what you're trying to accomplish here.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Rahman?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Councilmember Harris Dawson's comments, and to say that I think, you know, this is a very bold step, and I'm really excited that you've pushed it forward. I also want to, in addition to thanking you for your leadership on this, I also want to thank the tenants of this building, and CCD, which has been organizing around it for a long time. I think that we are at a moment right now in Los Angeles where we have to look at a variety of ways to respond to our housing crisis. It can't just be one thing. And I think this idea of preserving our existing affordable housing stock with the huge number of expiring covenants that are coming up, we need to find a strategy that's going to be effective. And I think looking at every option available to us, including this one, is really, really important. And I'm excited to see how the city proceeds on this and how we proceed on this. And I just wanted to thank you for pushing it forward.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me echo the comments of my colleagues, and especially in recognizing the relentless leadership that you have shown in fighting for your constituents in this building. It has been dogged, and it has gone on for years. And the fact that you were able to achieve an agreement that should have been respected and exercised, that would have protected these constituents, and that was reneged upon, was already a sign of the strength of and creativity of your leadership. And then to be able to bounce back with further options as your plans B, C, D, E, and F to address this problem. I think, the folks who live in that building, but all of the people in the First Council District should see that and respect the fearlessness that you fought for them with. And I agree with my colleagues that we need to have an array of options to meet the extraordinary housing shortage and challenge and affordability challenge that we have in Los Angeles. And you have been one of the clearest voices, I think, that we've had in how valuable preservation of existing housing stock is, how much sense it makes to invest in extending existing affordability covenants, because it's one of the most cost-effective ways that we have to ensure affordable housing, to protect the housing that's already there. It's also the most environmentally appropriate method, because rather than investing in greenfield housing, rather than changing the nature of existing neighborhoods, to preserve the housing that's already there, it does a more effective job of protecting our environment, the nature of our communities, and also achieving an affordable, maintaining what we have in terms of our affordable housing stock. And I appreciate your initial comments about this and the breadth that you expect our city staff to go to try to identify options to be able to fund this acquisition. And I wholly agree with you that we need to look at federal sources, we need to look at state sources, we need to look at sources that may become available to the city because of the current emergencies that we're facing. We need to look under every nook and cranny. As the budget chair, I have to also say that it is certainly not the easy task that some of our callers have suggested that, well, the city has the money, you should just do it. The city is right now facing a $700 million deficit that we need to solve by the end of this fiscal year, in less than 6 months. So the idea that there are resources readily available to do this within the city is simply not true. And so that reinforces the need, I think, to look at revenue enhancements, at opportunities to identify outside sources, to look at the massive surplus the state of California has right now as an opportunity to perhaps fund affordable housing options for this city and for other cities up and down the length of the state. There are many, many different strategies that we need to pursue. And I look forward to having a more robust discussion about what the best one of those strategies may be to be able to meet the needs of the tenants of this building, but more broadly, the larger 30,000 foot strategy of preserving the existing housing stock throughout Los Angeles.
Thank you. Is that a motion to adopt?
Second.
I'm going to call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Calling the roll to approve item number 3, Councilmember Cedillo.
Aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Krikorian.
Aye.
And for the record, Councilmember Lee is absent. Item number 3 is approved. Item number 4 is a motion by Martinez and Ridley Thomas relative to the creation of a strategy which outlines current and new funding sources to support and expand the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles Housing Acquisition Program to increase the number of publicly owned housing units to keep low-income families housed.
Do we have someone I've been texting with the president of the council? Do we have somebody from her office who wants to present or make a statement? Mr.
Yes, council member. This is Max Podemsky. I'm the planning director with Council District 6.
Max.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to address you today. This is a initiative we have been working on with HACLA, and they have a very successful acquisition program. They've acquired 1,000 units of housing over the past year, and the average unit cost is about $230,000. So this motion is really exploring how we can partner with them to expand this initiative to 10,000 units, and also ways we can work with HCID and other city departments to identify funding we could put towards this goal, and also financing opportunities. So we think this is a really great initiative and a great opportunity to preserve existing affordable housing and expand the stock of affordable housing. So happy to take any questions as well, but thank you.
Committee members?
Happy to move the item.
Second. Clerk, you want to call the roll?
Calling the roll to approve item number 4. Councilmember Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Krikorian.
Aye.
And for the record, Councilmember Lee is absent. Item number 4 is approved. Item number 5 is a motion by DeLeon, Bonin, and Price relative to the request for a report from the Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment Department on the creation of a renters relief registry, including funding and staffing needs to maintain a standing registry to meet the permanent citywide need for rental housing.
Okay. I understand we have some amendments to this motion. CD 14. They're unable to attend, but I think Ms. Rahman, you have you're
Yes.
carrying the motion.
Yeah, I wanted to offer an amendment to this motion for 2 purposes. One is to make sure that this rental registry adds to our existing rental registry. We already have a partial rental registry in the city of Los Angeles that includes RSO units. And I'd love to make sure that any new information that we're collecting at this time about rent needs and about through the rent relief programs that we're currently administering actually is added to this existing rental registry and strengthens it, broadens it, makes sure that it's more usable for the purposes of proactively protecting tenants in their homes and making sure people are able to know about their rights and things like that. The other thing that I just wanted to add to this motion was that we were making sure that we were moving this forward in the context of the federal rent relief program that will be implemented over these coming weeks and months through, in partnership with the state government and the county. We have a lot of money coming in from the federal government. And again, I just want to make sure that this rental registry was, using the information collected from that to actually grow and make our existing rental registry broader and make it more robust, and so that we're leaving this pandemic stronger than what we entered it with in terms of information about renters, information about what they're paying, what their rights are, all of that good stuff. And so I just wanted to read the amending language. Is that what you'd like me to do?
Madam Clerk, you need that, or you just need the number of the amendment?
Yes, please. Councilmember Rahman, please read it into the record for the public.
Yeah, so here's the amending language. I therefore move the City Council instruct the Housing and Community Investment Department to report on the feasibility of creating a renters relief registry that includes the development of a ranking system to score applicants by where any city renter can register to receive aid based on a prioritized list. That was in the original motion. And then I'm adding, as well as the creation of an online portal in which tenants can create an account, receive regular updates from HCID on any other sources of rental and housing assistance, and obtain tenancy information provided by their landlords. I further move that Council instruct HCID to publicly share the aggregate data from the registry once a quarter, and that it be incorporated into the city's existing rent registry. and included in HCID's annual report to help provide better information to policymakers, researchers, and the residents of the city regarding the full depth of the housing crisis in the city of Los Angeles. And finally, I further move that Council instruct HCID to report on the total funding and staffing needs to maintain such registry and any grants or programs which could be used to start the program, including through the administration of federal rental assistance funds.
Second. Yes, Mr. Krikorian.
That was a lot of amendment to try to catch on the fly. That's okay. But I think all of it made sense to me with the one proviso that I would just suggest that rather than being prescriptive about incorporating this into the existing registry program, we ask that staff consider whether that is feasible and report back to us. And the reason I say that is because the existing registry is prepared by building owners, landlords. This is going to be information that's provided by the tenants themselves, and it's going to be voluntary, whereas the existing rent registry program, unit registry program, is mandatory for RSO units. So I just don't know how that would all work and whether it would fit together. It might be something that our staff would want to consider. It makes sense as a matter of efficiency to build on the existing program, but there may be hiccups that we're not anticipating because of those issues. So with the one, if we could ask staff to consider that rather than instructing them to do that, I don't know if your language actually did prescribe it.
No, it did say that it be incorporated, and instead we could say that
consider incorporated.
That consider it be incorporated. That it should be considered to be incorporated into the city's existing.
Thank you.
Okay.
The other thought I just wanted to share, if there are two objectives, I think that two apparent objectives that we're trying to serve, or that the moving parties seem to be trying to serve.
Sorry, could I interrupt you for just 1 second, Councilmember Krikorian? I just did want to say that in the federal rent registry program, the federal rent relief money that's coming, landlords will be applying. So it won't just be information from tenants that will be coming through the program. So if this rent registry is incorporated, is done through that program, landlords will also be inputting information from it. So yeah, I just realized that when you were talking. So the addition of making sure that we're using it to implement these new rent relief funds would mean that we would also be collecting information from landlords. So
Right, and I guess that kind of makes my point, because different funding programs might be from different sources, require different things, and so we can't anticipate how that all integrates in. But staff will report that back, and we can consider that. I think is my point. Second, thank you for that clarification. Second point is there's two things that are being sought by this motion. One is to have the registry so that as relief programs become available, we have a targeted list of potential beneficiaries, that we don't have to keep reinventing that wheel over and over, and they don't. But we can get information directly to the people most in need. Makes complete sense. The second component of it is more using this aggregated data and making it available to the public. And I guess just a comment that I'd like staff to take into account when they prepare the report back is we need to make sure that the privacy of those who provide the data is guaranteed and not at all endangered. And then number two, keeping in mind that this is would seem to be a voluntary registry program, it's going to be self-selected data, and it's not going to be necessarily scientifically representative data about the housing market in Los Angeles. So I just want that to be taken into account when we consider using this data for other policymaking purposes. But those are just comments. I'm just to take into account for when it comes back, but I'm happy to move forward.
Mr. HD.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Krikorian, for the drill down on that, on the data sources that we have. Again, I don't have anything that's particularly useful except for support. And support in this regard, it's baffling to me that as bad as the housing problem has gotten in California and in Los Angeles, that we don't have access to information about rentals. I can drive up behind any automobile anywhere in this state and punch in the license plate number, and I know who owns the car. I know what the taxes were on the car. I know when it was last registered. I know the address. I can get all kinds of information. But rental units, we just are in the dark about, especially RSOs. In my district, I don't know about other districts, even more than calls to deal with encampments or calls to deal with sidewalks or potholes, we get calls from people saying, my landlord said I had to move out and I need help because I don't know what the situation is. And the work we have to do to figure out the disposition of that building in a situation where the owner is not cooperative is incredibly difficult given the magnitude of the problem. And so I appreciate you weighing in and leaning in on this. I think sometime in the very near future, we need to have a comprehensive rental registry that we know where rental units are, how much they cost, and all like that. Protecting privacy, of course, just like as homeowners, we're protected. But even with those protections, it's fairly easy to figure out when's the last time we paid taxes and what the assessment of the assessed value of our property was. And I think we need to move in that direction as swiftly and boldly as we can. So I want to thank you for your for the work that you put forward today.
Okay. Anything else? I agree with everything everybody said. Very important for us. Data and information is key. And I agree with you, Mr. Aristotle. Except legal status. You won't find out what their legal status is.
Right. That's right. There's a stubborn legislator who made sure.
Yeah. Okay, motion on item as amended on item number 5.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to get you guys the amending language. What is the process for that? Do you want to?
I think we heard I think the point, if I may, Mr. Krikorian, was simply to not be prescriptive because we want greater flexibility on the report back.
Yeah.
And that the clerk makes note of that, and then that will allow us then to make the policy judgments when it comes back. Do we want to continue to push forward as building on it, or does it merit its own freestanding program? And we'll get the feedback from the staff after when it comes on the report back. So is that clear, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Call in the roll to approve item number 5 as amended by Councilmember Rahman and Krikorian. Councilmember Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
Councilmember Rahman.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris-Dawson.
Yes.
Councilmember Krikorian.
Aye.
4 ayes. This item is approved as amended. Item number 6 is a motion by Martinez and Alfaro relative to a report on the creation of an incentive program that allows developers to contribute funds to provide rental assistance for low-income residents, such as the Renters Assistance Program.
Yes, we have, again, is there a rep from CD6? Is Max still around?
Hi.
Max.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, this motion is exploring a new incentive program for development to contribute to a rental assistance fund, such as the rental assistance program that was set up for COVID relief. So it'd be asking planning to set up an incentive, similar to incentives we have now to include on-site affordable housing or pay into a housing trust fund. This would be, again, directed at, supporting existing tenants, pay their rent.
I'm enthusiastic about this program, and I will tell you why. About 2-3 years ago, we were working with a developer who's building a very large housing project in Chinatown, which will be a very large market rate project and by right. So it's a by right development that gave us little flexibility, but we were able to use our resources and our experiences to negotiate with the developer who was at the same time, concurrently, we had a situation at Metro Lofts, which was one of the first of our subsidized affordable units that was going beyond its covenants. And we were able to get the developer with agreement, with an MOU, to commit to subsidizing the rent increases for the 123 units of housing that are part of the Metro Lofts. And so there is a 10-year MOU that exists between the developer and the owner of the Metro Lofts. And so the tenants, for their life and experience, will not see a rent increase over the next decade because that rent increase is being covered or subsidized by the developer in Chinatown. So it's essentially adding 123 units of affordable housing into that development. And so I'm excited that we can take from this particular and build into a general policy for the city to take advantage of these opportunities. Colleagues? Mr. HD? Okay.
I'm moving the item.
Ms. Rahman?
Seconding it.
Okay, good. Get a roll call.
Calling the roll to approve item number 6, Councilmember Cedillo.
Aye.
Rahman.
Aye.
Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Krikorian.
Aye.
And for the record, Councilmember Lee is absent. 4 ayes. This item is approved. Item number 7 is a motion by Krikorian, Ridley, Thomas, and Rahman relative to a report on the creation of a revolving loan fund and resources needed that will support increasing the stock of workforce housing in the city that will benefit working families and stimulate regional economic growth and job creation. This item is also referred to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Awesome. Can we hear from Councilmember Krikorian on the motion?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll just be very brief. As I said earlier, Mr. Chairman, you have been one of the clear voices that the housing stock needs to be increased across the entire spectrum of housing affordability in order to have any real impact on the housing crisis that we're facing. And one of the market niches that has really been overlooked is workforce housing, which is a key element to our economic recovery as we're going into the post-COVID era. It's a key element in attracting businesses to locate here and create jobs. And it also has a tremendous impact on our local environment, because when we don't have affordable workforce housing near the city, that forces sprawl, and it forces people to travel further distances from their homes to their workplace, none of which is a good policy outcome. Now, San Francisco has developed a housing accelerator fund that utilizes foundation money and institutional private investors who want to invest in safe assets like real estate, and they use that as a vehicle to leverage those sorts of investments to create more affordable workforce housing. And I think that it's important that we pursue all available options to find new funding for all types of increased affordability, and this targets the workforce housing niche, and so I would ask for your aye vote.
Second, other comments? Mr. HD?
Call the question.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, you want to call roll call?
Calling the roll to approve item number 7, Councilmember Cedillo,
Aye.
Rahman,
Aye.
Harris Dawson,
Yes.
Krikorian,
Aye.
and for the record, Councilmember Lee is absent. 4 ayes. This item is approved. The last item on our agenda is a motion by Blumenfield and Price relative to a report on the feasibility of the city becoming a member of the California Statewide Communities Development Authority, a joint powers authority created to enable local government and eligible private entities access to low-cost, tax-exempt financing for projects that provide tangible public relief, contribute to social and economic growth, and improve the overall quality of life in local communities throughout California.
We have a representative from Council District 3.
Hi, good afternoon, Council. Hi.
Cecilia Castillo, good to see you.
Good afternoon. Cecilia Castillo, Legislative Deputy for Councilmember Blumenfield. This motion actually goes really well with the previous motion that the council members just discussed, trying to look into the use of tax-exempt housing bonds to increase units and preserve affordability for the missing middle. So there are lots of tools, although not enough tools, for affordable and permanent supportive housing. However, the area median index of 80 to 120 doesn't really have any options. So we've been approached by a couple developers that were interested in using tax-exempt bonds, and we want to support that idea. City of Carson successfully issued tax-exempt bonds for a missing middle project, so we would like the City of LA to also do that. We do have one amendment because we want to clarify that we want to look at all bond issuers and not just the particular one listed. So I would request that it read, I therefore move that council instruct the Housing and Community Investment Department, City Administrative Officer, Chief Legislative Analyst, and request the City Attorney report back on the feasibility of the City of Los Angeles authorizing the issuance of tax-exempt bonds for the production, preservation, and protection of essential middle-income rental housing.
Move approval of the item, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Move as amended, seconded. Roll call.
Calling the roll to approve item number 8 as amended, Councilmember Cedillo,
Cedillo, aye.
Rahman,
Aye.
Harris Dawson,
Yes.
Krikorian,
Aye.
and for the record, Councilmember Lee is absent. 4 yeses. That item is approved as amended.
Madam Clerk, is the any other matters before us?
No other matters before the committee, Mr. Chair.
Would a motion to adjourn be appropriate?
Yes, please.
Move to adjourn. Anyone?
Seconding your motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Consent. This meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a great day and serve the city.